Here is something you probably don't know about table salt. For roughly 4,000 years, salt was used by physicians as the first line of treatment for sore throats, mouth wounds, infected cuts, fevers, skin infections, and a dozen other common ailments. Then, somewhere around 1970, the medical establishment quietly changed its mind. The same physicians who had recommended saltwater gargles to your great-grandmother started recommending lozenges and prescription mouthwash instead. The salt in your kitchen cabinet went from being the most useful compound in the house to being something the FDA wanted you to use less of. The chemistry never changed. Sodium chloride is still sodium chloride, still mildly antibacterial, still a mild abrasive at Mohs hardness 2, still a surfactant that breaks grease bonds. Grandpa used it for 25 different jobs that the modern household products industry now sells you 25 different bottles for. Today, we are counting down 25 banned salt hacks from the 1960s that doctors quietly forgot. The chemistry comes from verified sources, including peer-reviewed cleaning science, traditional medical practice documented since the early 1800s, and modern dermatological research. Stay until the end, because number one is the use that municipal road crews still rely on commercially. It is also a quiet seasonal side business for retirees who understand the chemistry. If this kind of forgotten practical wisdom is what you came here for, subscribe and hit the bell. There is a new video on this channel every week. Quick safety note before we start. Several uses on this list involve skin or mouth contact, and modern guidance has shifted. Anyone with high blood pressure, kidney conditions, or open wounds should consult a doctor before using salt internally or on broken skin. Let us count it down. Number 25, the cast iron pan cleaner. Grandma would never use soap on her cast iron. She would scrub it with coarse salt and a damp cloth instead. The salt acts as a mild abrasive at Mohs, hardness 2, lifting stuck food without damaging the seasoning layer that gives cast iron its non-stick surface. Restaurant kitchens still use this exact method, and seasoned cast iron restoration is a quiet side business clearing $50 to $200 per restored pan. A retired cook with patience for slow seasoning rebuilds can clear $600 to $2,000 per month, restoring vintage cast iron found at estate sales. Number 24, the coffee pot stain remover. Add 2 tablespoons of salt and a handful of ice to a stained glass coffee pot. Swirl vigorously. The combination of cold contraction and abrasive salt lifts coffee residue from the glass without harsh chemicals. Diner waitresses across America used this exact trick every morning for decades. Restaurant supply cleaning services still recommend it as the safest method for preserving vintage glass coffee pots. Number 23, the greasy pan pre-treatment. Sprinkle salt directly on greasy pans before washing. Let it sit 5 minutes, then wash normally. The salt absorbs surface grease and breaks up fat molecules through ionic attraction, making the wash dramatically more effective. Diner cooks still use this trick, and cleaning service companies include it in their grease trap maintenance training. Number 22, the burnt food rescue paste. Mix salt with lemon juice into a paste. Apply to burnt-on food in pots and pans. The salt abrades while the citric acid dissolves carbon. Together, they restore burnt cookware in 15 minutes without scratching the surface. Cookware rehabilitation specialists charge $20 to $50 per piece to restore burnt vintage Pyrex, enameled Le Creuset, and copper pots using this exact method. Number 21, the carpet stain emergency blotter. Pour salt generously on any fresh liquid spill on carpet. It absorbs the liquid before it can soak in. This is the same principle used by professional carpet restoration companies who charge $100 to $400 per emergency stain treatment. Number 20, the red wine stain treatment. For fresh red wine spilled on tablecloth or carpet, immediately cover the stain with salt and let it sit for 30 minutes. The salt absorbs the wine before the tannins can bond with the fibers. Stain removal services charge premium for fast emergency response on red wine, with mobile stain treatment clearing, $75 to $250 per call. Number 19. The sweat stain remover from shirts. Soak the underarm areas of stained shirts in a solution of 4 tablespoons of salt in 1 quart of hot water. The sodium chloride dissolves the protein and oil residues that bond to fabric. Vintage clothing resellers use this trick to restore yellowed white shirts before selling them. Number 18. The cutting board sanitizer. Sprinkle coarse salt over the cutting board, scrub with half a lemon, rinse clean. The salt acts as an abrasive while the citric acid kills surface bacteria. Restaurant kitchen audits still recognize this method as effective wood board sanitation. Number 17. The tarnish remover for silver and copper. Mix 2 tablespoons salt, 2 tablespoons flour, and enough white vinegar to form a paste. The salt and acid combination lifts tarnish chemically, while the flour creates a workable consistency. Antique restoration services charge $50 to $150 per piece for exactly this treatment. Number 16. The iron plate cleaner. Spread coarse salt on a piece of brown paper. Heat your iron to medium-high, then iron over the salt repeatedly. The salt abrades sticky residue from the iron's surface without damaging the non-stick coating. Tailoring services still use this exact method to restore burnt or sticky irons. Number 15. The glassware spot remover. Soak spotted drinking glasses in warm salt water for 30 minutes before washing. The salt loosens hard water deposits chemically. Wedding rental companies use this trick to restore vintage cocktail glasses for events. Antique glass restoration is a quiet specialty trade with rare crystal restoration clearing $50 to $300 per piece. Number 14. The drain cleaner. Pour half a cup of salt followed by 2 cups of boiling water down slow drains weekly. The hot brine emulsifies fat and soap scum that accumulate in pipes. Plumbing maintenance services include this in preventive maintenance routes at $50 to $100 per visit. Quick question before we keep going. Drop a comment with what your own grandmother used salt for that nobody talks about anymore. Real kitchen and home wisdom. If you haven't subscribed yet, this is the moment. The next hacks on the list are the ones that doctors actually used to recommend before the rules changed. Number 13. The driveway and walkway weed killer. Boil 1 quart of water, dissolve 1 cup of salt. Pour boiling brine directly on weeds growing in driveway cracks and sidewalk seams. The salt desiccates plant tissue at the cellular level, while the heat shocks the root system. Lawn services charge $30 to $75 per crack treatment route for exactly this work. Number 12. The garden slug barrier. Sprinkle a thin ring of salt around vulnerable plants, especially hostas and lettuce beds. The salt creates a physical barrier that desiccates slugs that try to cross it. Garden consultants include this in their seasonal pest management programs. Number 11. The poison ivy soak relief. Soak the affected area in a strong saltwater solution for 15 to 20 minutes after exposure. The salt draws urushiol oil out of the skin through osmotic action. This was a standard prescription from rural family doctors throughout the 1900s. Number 10. The mouth ulcer salt rinse. Dissolve 1 teaspoon of salt in a glass of warm water. Swish in the mouth for 30 seconds. Spit out. The salt creates an environment where bacteria cannot thrive, speeding healing. Dentists still recommend this exact method for canker sores and after dental procedures. Number 9. The sore throat gargle. Dissolve half a teaspoon of salt in a glass of warm water, gargle several times daily during a cold. This was the standard physician prescription for sore throats from the 1800s through the 1960s. The mild, saline solution soothes inflamed throat tissue and creates an inhospitable environment for surface bacteria. Modern medical guidance has shifted toward over-the-counter lozenges, but the chemistry of salt water still works exactly as it always did. Number 8. The bee sting paste. Make a thick paste of salt and water, apply directly to the sting after removing the stinger. The salt draws moisture out of the affected tissue, reducing both pain and swelling. Outdoor guides and beekeepers still use this as their first response to stings. Number 7. The wound irrigation saline. Sterile saline is the most universally used wound cleaning solution in modern medicine. The same principle applies to homemade saline made from boiled water and salt for cleaning minor cuts and scrapes. Hospital emergency rooms use saline irrigation thousands of times daily. Always consult a medical professional for serious wounds and never use this as a substitute for proper medical care for deep cuts or punctures. Number 6. The foot soak for tired feet. Add half a cup of salt to a basin of warm water. Soak feet for 15 to 20 minutes. The salt reduces inflammation through osmotic action and softens calluses. Spa and pedicure services charge $30 to $75 for this treatment. Number 5. The skin exfoliating scrub. Mix 1 part salt with 1 part olive oil for a homemade body scrub. The salt removes dead skin cells while the oil moisturizes the new skin underneath. Artisan body care entrepreneurs build entire small batch product lines around this exact formula. Number 4. The scalp scrub for dandruff. Massage 1 teaspoon of fine salt into the scalp before shampooing. Rinse thoroughly. The salt removes flaky skin and reduces fungal growth that causes dandruff. Specialty hair care services charge $50 to $150 for the salon version of this treatment. Number 3. The grease fire emergency response. For small, contained grease fires in pans, throwing handfuls of regular table salt on the flames will help smother them when combined with baking soda, or by covering the pan with a lid. The salt absorbs heat rapidly, and the dense particles cut off oxygen to the flames. Fire safety experts recommend the lid first method primarily, with salt as a secondary measure. Never use water on a grease fire under any circumstances. Number 2. The battery terminal and metal corrosion polish. Apply a paste of salt and water to corroded car battery terminals. Scrub gently with an old toothbrush. Rinse with clean water. The salt and water mixture neutralizes mild corrosion and lifts oxide buildup. Mobile auto detailing services charge $20 to $40 per battery for exactly this treatment. And here we are at number 1. The use that municipal road crews still rely on commercially, and that retirees have quietly built into a seasonal side business worth thousands per winter. Number 1. The ice melt and walkway safety application. Rock salt, also called halite, is the same sodium chloride that is in your kitchen cabinet, just in larger crystals and unrefined form. It works by lowering the freezing point of water, melting ice on contact at temperatures down to about 20 degrees Fahrenheit. For more than 200 years, this has been the most cost-effective de-icing material on Earth, and municipal road crews across America still buy it in tons every winter. Here is where it gets interesting for retirees. Residential and small commercial walkway de-icing is a thriving seasonal side business. Mobile de-icing operators with a small spreader, a pickup truck, and a route of 40 to 60 residential and small business clients clear $2,000 to $6,000 per major snowstorm. Steady winter accounts at $20 to $50 per visit, with 2 to 4 visits per week through January and February. Clear $10,000 to $30,000 in a 4-month season. Commercial parking lot accounts pay significantly more, with strip mall and small office park work clearing $100 to $400 per visit. The equipment investment is moderate, with a basic walk-behind spreader and 10 bags of rock salt clearing under $500 for the starter kit. Licensing requirements vary by state, with most allowing this as a sole proprietor operation under standard business registration. Grandpa would have called this the simplest cash work he ever did. The modern municipal services market calls it the most underused seasonal opportunity for retirees in cold weather states. Here is what makes this whole list remarkable. 1 white container of plain table salt does 25 different jobs. Marketing departments later sold each of those uses as separate specialty products in separate aisles of the grocery store. The chemistry never changed. Salt is still salt. The bonds between sodium and chloride still break the same way. The osmotic pressure still pulls moisture out of bacteria, slugs, and weeds the same way. A reminder before we close. Several uses on this list involve modern medical contexts where guidance has shifted. Always consult a doctor for internal use, wound care, or use on broken skin, especially if you have high blood pressure or kidney conditions. If you found even 3 of these hacks useful, share this video with someone who appreciates the simple chemistry that Grandma already understood. Drop a comment telling me what your own grandmother used salt for that nobody talks about anymore. The best stories become future videos. Hit subscribe because next week we are going to the medicine cabinet, to the white bottle of aspirin tablets that doctors started prescribing for things you would never expect. Trust me, you won't want to miss it.